Okay, so we are recording, and I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen. Okay, hello everybody. Today we are going to have a brief presentation about our new initiative for faculty-led study abroad courses. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a background in terms of the shared aspects of these two courses, and then we're going to do a little bit more of a deeper dive into the study abroad course in Vietnam, and then I'm going to pass the mic to Dr. Rima, who's going to talk about the study abroad program in Peru. Okay, so just a quick history about the Kent School. We've had a very active international program since the 90s. And so Kent students have studied in various places around the globe. And this has led to a lot of international exchange initiatives, including visiting scholars and lecturers throughout the years. So we had a little bit of a pause in this program during COVID. So we're really excited to revamp the course and offer two new initiatives this summer. So before we break out into the separate programs, I wanted to talk a little bit about information about the courses and what they really share in common. So both courses are 3 credits in 2 weeks of travel that are embedded into a 10-week asynchronous course. So they are both going to be offered during the summer. Students who register for this course pay tuition for, like I said, 3 credit hours. Plus, there's an additional program fee that covers all the students' costs while they're in country. So, including housing, food, local travel, excursions, and logistical support. We have decided to have these courses both be online learning programs this year to accommodate the large number of online students we have, but we are going to convene in each respective country, so Vietnam and Peru, for the 2-week period, but we are expecting students to pay for their own flights. So flight costs will really differ just depending on the student's departure location. So this cost will also need to be included in each student's budget planning. Okay, so we'd like you, if you are interested in either one of these programs, to really start preparing now. We would like you to apply for a US passport as soon as possible, and we actually have a passport office in the basement of the International Center on U of L's campus. An additional visa is also needed for Vietnam, but we can apply for that around March. We'd also like you to reach out to financial aid if you are planning on using financial aid for this trip. We would like you to review your program requirements because it is our expectation, and this is dependent on what department you're in, but we assume that the majority of our students will need to take this class as an elective. So particularly checking on your elective requirements. We would also like you to explore the international system called Teradata. So this is a new U of L initiative for any faculty, staff, or student who plans to go abroad under the umbrella of university related work. So all of your passports, travel informations, emergency contacts, medical, all of that needs to be uploaded into Teradata. We would also like you to be in contact with Dr. Rema and I for travel and course related purposes. We'd like to meet with you at a pretty early stage. We also have applications for each of these courses that you can access through scanning a QR code. So we will also share that information with your instructors so that you can fill out a Google form so that we know how to get in touch with you for next steps. We need to start putting down some down payments for each program within Peru and Vietnam. So we're also expecting that students commit an initial deposit of a $500 check to our Kent Business Center, so we're able to do that. And we also wanted to share with you some scholarship information. So the International Center offers yearly scholarships to U of L students that are traveling abroad. So that is also available for you to apply. So I'm going to talk briefly about Vietnam, and then I'm going to pass it to Susan to talk about Peru. So the title of the course, which is Traveling to Vietnam, is Health and Social Programs in Northern Vietnam. So our travel dates are going to be June 14th through 29th, summer 2025. Our first stop is going to be Hanoi, which is the second largest city in Vietnam and also really recognized as being the cultural capital of Vietnam. We are then going to move to Haiphong, which is an area that has the highest rates of HIV, injection drug use, but it's also a coastal city on the South China Sea. So we're going to get to know a lot of unique social programs that have really been designed to serve the needs of the communities in that area. We're also going to go on an excursion to Yentu Mountain, which is a very beautiful Buddhist monastery site. And there is lots of arts and cultural programming, outdoor activities, horses, animals, lantern festivals that can also be participated at the base of the mountain where the retreat center as well. And then lastly, we are going to take an excursion to the Hai Long Bay, which is a very beautiful, famous UNESCO World Heritage Site. And we are going to spend the night on what's known as a junk boat or a cruise ship. And we're going to cruise around the islands and do swimming and kayaking and other activities together. So this course description is really aimed at utilizing Northern Vietnam as a classroom to gain a unique perspective and local understanding of an intricate network of health and social programs. There will be opportunities for cultural exchange through engagement with local service providers and leaders. So these can be youth leaders, university students, healthcare professionals, youth who have been impacted by HIV, to really understand the operations of their programming, be it health or social services. And so really looking at various types of human service organizations, so international NGOs, government agencies, grassroots organizations, and youth serving organizations will all be included. We're hoping for the following student learning outcomes and logistics. So we're hopeful to gain knowledge on the key areas of global learning, social justice within a unique cultural context, critical inquiry, reflection, integrative learning, practice, and interculturality. And here is just a map of the geography of Northern Vietnam. So we're going to start in Hanoi, which is in the north. Then we're going to move to Haiphong. And then nearby Haiphong is Yentu Mountain. And then we're going to take the cruise ship around the Hai Long Bay. And then we'll go back to Hanoi for our last night together. So just so you get a context of where we are, Vietnam is a very long country that is to the right-hand side on the map, as you can see, covered with the South China Sea. So a very beautiful and rich country in terms of resources, environment, tropical fruit, rice paddies. So just a very diverse geographical environment. So I wanted to talk a second about the program costs and what is associated with those. So what we need to think about in terms of factoring in cost is that there's costs that are factored into the program specific budget. So these will be things that when you are in country will be covered. So that's lodging in our various locations, rental of transportation. We're going to be visiting 3 different museums while there. We'll have our excursions, and we'll do also some local arts and cultural programming. We're also going to do a field trip with youth, and there will be 2 meals per day provided. But we also want you to think about, the cost of a 3 credit hour course, the estimated airfare, potential spending money, and then $75 for a visa as well. And here's an initial itinerary for the trip, which I can also share with you all separately. We'll start in Hanoi. move to Haiphong, you can see we're visiting various organizations, organizations that serve women who advocate against gender-based violence. We'll visit the Temple of Literature and visit an organization called Koto, which works in arts and culinary programming and tourism skills with youth. We're going to visit their training center. We're going to visit a local school. We will visit an LGBTQ plus organization. We're going to visit a large international NGO called Save the Children. And then we're going to move to a harm reduction program that aims to work with persons who inject drugs and implement medication-assisted treatment. We're going to work with a youth serving program as well. And we're also going to do 3 museum visits to the Women's Museum, the National Museum of History to understand more about the cultural context, and the Museum of Ethnology, which is focused on ethnic minority populations within Vietnam. So really quickly, just talking for a minute about what it is like to live in Vietnam. For an average person raised in the United States, it can be a little bit physically challenging in terms of the heat. So, and the amount of walking that is involved. So just to set everybody's expectations in terms of a daily physical activity, we will be walking at least 1 to 2 miles a day in 95 to 100-degree heat with very high humidity. We will be walking upstairs and sometimes very narrow staircases because human service organizations are often stacked on top of each other and there are no elevators. When we go to Yen 2, we will have the option to walk up the mountain, but there's also a cable car option. But even within the cable car option, there is still walking portions of that excursion. When we go to the Hai Long Bay, we will be biking, swimming, and kayaking. Often, we will take buses and we'll walk places, but at times we might have to ride on the back of motorbikes. There is limited air conditioning and ice at certain locations, and there will be at times where we will have to eat outside without AC. And so I want to just set everyone's expectations about, what this is going to be like visiting Vietnam in the summertime. In spite of that, it is a very wonderful, enriching experience. And I really, really enjoy visiting Vietnam in the summertime for many, many reasons. Okay, so for more information, please contact myself, Leslie Harris. And Dr. Andrew Winters is also going to be co-leading this trip. So we have both had a lot of experience working and traveling in Vietnam and have a lot of experience in the substantive areas in which we're going to explore from a local Vietnamese agency's perspective. So please feel free to reach out to us at any time. And with that, I am going to pass the mic to Dr. Rama, who's going to talk about the program in Peru.
Hello, I'm excited to share with you about the travel study to Peru. And this first slide shows you the dates, again, next summer in the same format that Dr. Harris spoke about in the 10-week course. We'll be going to Peru between June 15th and returning June 27th next summer. You can, yeah, thanks. So the 10-week course is focused on the intersectionality of culture and social justice. We'll be looking at that through a lens of the global context and the context in Peru. And we'll be reflecting on issues of cultural adaptation, using that lens of cultural values and norms, all to build capacity for folks who want to work across cultures, whether they're interested in long-term work in the United States or possibly working abroad. We will be exploring the theories and models around culture and social justice. And we will also be exploring principles of humility and mutuality and how we utilize those in our work in whatever setting that we might be in, or in whatever professional work that we might be doing in the future. You can, yeah. So why Peru? Well, Peru is a beautiful country that covers several different climatic zones, from the coastal area where Lima is, where we will all come together and land together and start our journey, up through the interior and into the Altiplano. The Altiplano is the highlands areas of South America that are very, very high in altitude. We are going to Peru because they have a very strong indigenous population that has been impacted by that history of colonialism. Was colonized by the Spaniards several centuries ago. And those indigenous populations have struggled and fought for their independence and for their authority in the social and political systems. And we're going to be spending a lot of time learning about those that history and those civilizations, as well as connecting with current social issues that have arisen from that, and learning from local leaders and listening to their stories, and learning about how they have come together to address those challenges. We will be focused on social systems, colonialism, and environmental issues as we explore one of the sites where they're working to work with social determinants of health and the impact of the mining industry. So our time in Peru will be focused on community engagement. We will be visiting with a number of agencies throughout the country that will allow us to both learn from those local leaders about how they are addressing the social issues, but also give us an opportunity to respond and explore the connection between the work that we might be doing in the United States and how that, what those commonalities are, as well as how to learn from each other about ways that we might improve the work that we all do. The first is an agency that works with the families of the disappeared. These are folks that have been disappeared because of their political activism. Another agency that we will work with is one that works with LGBTI individuals and women who've experienced violence. Both of those are in Lima, and we will spend the first few days there in Lima exploring the work of these two agencies. And then we will go to a residential facility that's located up in Huánuco, which is at about 6,000 feet above sea level. It's a residential facility for adolescent survivors of sexual abuse. And we will have an opportunity to interact with those youth, as well as learn from the folks that run the residential facility and what some of their challenges are there in Peru. Then we will go up to an even higher altitude in La Arroya and learn about the impact of the mining industry. There's historically been violence there against families who are protesting. And so we'll learn a little bit about that political and social activism that the families in La Arroya have been experienced, and how they've managed all of that. And then come down out of the Altiplano back to Lima, where we will visit with the Center for the Development of Black Peruvian Women. I'm really excited about the opportunity to sit with these women and learn about how the support that they're getting in advocacy and leadership, their educational development, and working on the sense of identity as a Black Peruvian woman. We'll visit with them in Lima and then go down the coast towards the south, towards Pisco, where there's another group, another location that they are working in, and spend some more time learning from this group of women. As we go down the coast, we will, after we visited the development program, we'll go down a little farther to Paracas and visit the National Reserve, where there's a great deal of wildlife, and there's sea lions, dolphins, lots of birds. We'll be down on the coast and see what that southern coast down closer to Chile. And we'll visit some of the local community there and have a chance to spend some time on the National Reserve site. So the cost for the Peruvian, the course fee that accompanies the course for Peru is $1,800, and that covers everything once the student lands in Lima until they leave Lima on return flight to the United States. We'll cover all those costs. The students will also purchase their own flight, as we have said, and the flight to Lima from most places around the US is about $900, maybe $1,000. And then, of course, we will encourage folks to bring some spending money. There's no visa required for any person who enters Peru with a US passport. So folks have a different passport. We can talk about what we need to do for their entrance. So also in light of preparation and helping students to think about what they might need to do to get ready, we will be in the Southern Hemisphere in our summer, in the Northern Hemisphere summer, but it's in the Southern Hemisphere at the same time, it's actually winter. And so Peru will be moving through several different climatic zones while we're in Peru. And so we'll have a range of temperatures. Sections where we will be warm during the day. Especially in the higher altitudes during the day in the desert regions. And so it will get into the 70s sometimes during winter. But then at night in those same regions, it could get as low as the 40s. And so there'll be a range of temperatures that we'll need to prepare for. We also, students will need to know that at high altitudes, the oxygen levels drop, and there's something called altitude sickness. And we will be prepared with different medications and natural kinds of things that one can take to be able to manage altitude sickness. So we'll prepare students for that, but there will be times when in the altitude, you feel very, you have to slow down and move a little slower to manage the lack of oxygen. So encouraging students to be prepared to walk several miles, particularly up in La Roya, where it is high altitude, we will have to walk some ways to explore the mining community. We will be sharing hotel rooms, like 2 to a room, and we'll allow students to make some of those choices in terms of how those rooms are shared. I do encourage folks to think about, diet and having some flexibility with their preparation for diet. We can manage vegan, or we can very easily manage vegetarian meals. Vegan can get a little bit challenging. And I usually tell students, I'm not going to make you eat guinea pig on a stick, but you might want to explore some interesting delicacies like that. And then, of course, there will be times when culturally and language, because of the setting, folks, even if you speak Spanish, there will be times when folks are speaking Aymara or Quechua. And so being prepared to know that there are times when you will find some a discomfort aside from the physical challenges of being there. Again, I'm Dr. Rama, and I have lived in Peru. I lived up in Puno on Lake Titicaca, and so I'm excited to be able to take students back there. If you have any questions, you can direct them to me, and I'll be happy to talk to you more about what it's going to be like in the course and in Peru.
Okay, so we're going to stop the recording and take time for questions. But for those of you who are listening to this recording, please, we will put a link to each one of the applications along with our contact information. Please reach out to us if you have any interest at all, and we're happy to follow up with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.